started writing. And it was 140,000 words romance, which is a big
Wow.
no-no.
It was an epic romance.
It was, I think, like 2 stories in one, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it, my friend read it, she loved it, and I thought I was done. And I started researching about publishing, and I quickly learned all the mistakes that I made in writing my book. And I quickly learned that I shouldn't query it, but of course I queried it.
Hello, and welcome to So I Wrote a Book, Now What? Where writers chat about writing. My guest today is Olivia Jackson. Her debut novel, Dating Dr. Jones, comes out May 2nd and is available for pre-order now. I'm excited for you to hear all about her journey to publication, how she got her agent, and how she found her community. So let's get into it. Hi, Olivia. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited.
So what made you decide to write a book?
Oh, goodness. This, particular book that's behind me, or, in general?
Any book, like your first book. What made you decide to write your very first book?
I wish I would have found my school book that I think I was in maybe 6th grade. It was more of a comic book than actual book, but it was adventure of the friends that got lost in safari, or maybe no, it was Sahara Desert, because we were studying Africa in geography, and I was just blown away by that. And I came home and I wrote that comic. Really, was a comic book, and I think that put me on a path of I want to become a writer. And of course, that path was forgotten, because when you grow up, you have to have a degree that will make you money. So I became a software engineer. I wrote the code. It's not exactly writing a book.
What made you decide to write your first romance book then?
Because I was 36-year-old woman who really liked reading romance. And on the flight back from Germany, I think I read Outlander, because it was 9-hour flight, and I was so much into that book. I didn't remember the whole flight, because it was I started the book, I ended the book, and boom, I'm home. And I was just, I don't know, blown away that you can write such a fascinating, I guess, story, and I can pour my own imagination into it. So coming back from spending 2 weeks in Germany, going through all these castles, I decided that I have a girl, and there's a castle, and there's a secret passages in the castle. And I just started writing. And it was 140,000 words romance, which is a big no-no.
It was an epic romance.
It was, I think, 2 stories in one, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it, my friend read it, she loved it, and I thought I was done. And I started researching about publishing, and I quickly learned all the mistakes that I made in writing my book. And I quickly learned that I shouldn't query it, but of course I queried it. And I got all the rejections. And then somebody, I don't remember which agents point out and said, you can't have 140,000 words romance. So that put me on more research about actually how to write a novel. And I rewrote it, and I queried it again, and I got one full request. And I got really, really excited. I think I made loops around the house about that. And within a month, the agent rejected me with a nice note saying that I need to fix my English.
Oh.
And my English is my second language. So I was like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna research into that because the friend who read my book, she corrected some of my grammar, but I guess not enough. I put that book aside and I studied craft of writing. Like I took some classes, I bought a lot of books, and I learned how to write more. And I think I diverted from your question because your question was about
Oh
why
no,
I
this
wrote
is
the book.
great.
Okay.
No, this all goes into it. It's a
Okay.
process of the whole process.
Okay. Because I have a tendency of answering the question like going to
I
different directions.
like it.
So anyway, so I learned more, and while I was learning and reading, and still reading for joy, some romance books, another book popped in my head, and I wrote that book. And by that time, I found a critique group. And my first critique group, it was just a fiction novel. I mean, fictional writers, all kind of genres. I was the only one who was writing romance. And I signed up, and I was so scared to go there by myself. My husband was at work. He couldn't come with me. It was in the library, but I still was so scared. So I asked my father-in-law to come with me. And the poor man agreed, and he came with me to the meeting, and there was all these elderly people and me and and my father-in-law. And from there, I was no longer scared to go and meet them in the library, and we're still friends. It's been, I don't know, 5 years ago maybe. And I learned from them more and more stuff as I was talking to them. Everybody was writing different genres, and we were critiquing. I was learning a lot from them. But eventually I learned that I had to be in critique group of romance genre because I was not getting a critique how to write romance book, because romance writers, they will be readers of romance and they will know what the readers want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a different group, and then I found a different group. And eventually I found my two critique partners through Bianca's Marie.
Beta reader matchup.
Yes. And that's it. I found my people. That's enough for me. And that was already my third book. And with their help, I polished my third book. And this is like, I think 3 years total. I kind of combined that. There was a COVID in it, and it's kind of slows down and then speed up. So I kind of, that was kind of a blur time anyway, that whole year. So yeah, that's very long answer to your question.
No, that's great. That's wonderful. So did you query all three of those books then?
So let's see. My second book, I queried it, and I got more requests, full partials, got rejections for different reasons. And while that was going on, I was polishing my third book and getting ready to go on querying. I think I was going to do it in January, and so this is a fall. And Helen Lane opened for queries, and she said something about she wants adventure romance. I was like, I have a second book is adventure romance. So I sent it to her, and she requested 50 pages within a day, and then I think it was the same day she requested full manuscript. And I thought, this is it. This is it,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen. I found my And a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later, she rejected my full with the nicest letter. It was like super nice. And I told myself, I will query her my third book. Whenever she opens, I'll do my second chances. Because she, I think, asked, like, if you're going to, query next book, like she wants to read something like that. And I started querying in January, but slowly, because I was waiting for Helen to open in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I queried 20 agents. Because you know how with agents, some open, some close. So you have to stagger them waiting.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just sit there and wait for your dream agent, even though I was stalling for Helen. And then in March, she opened earlier by a few days, and I was like, send it to her a query and sample pages. And 2 days later, she requested full, and I waited till May to hear back from her, end of May. But as soon as I sent it to her and she requested full, I sent it to pretty much everybody else. I think I sent out additional 60 queries. Just say, that's it. It's all in your hands, agents, because I'm waiting for one agent to reply back to me. And she did. In end of May, she offered me representation. So I guess it will be 3 books that I wrote, queried, and with every book, I learned more and more. And I think I learned also more about querying. That's huge. Thank you to the shit that no one tells you about writing podcast, because without them, I don't think I will be where I am right now, because through them, I think they started doing it in COVID, and I found them during COVID. A little bit later, I found them in the winter of 2021. I learned so much, and my query process and writing got better because of them. So.
How do you know? So you had your manuscript and you had your critique partners. How did you know when your manuscript was ready to query, when it was done?
I think it's never done, because I don't know, because I always want to tweak something in it. But I think when I read it or listen to it again, like an audiobook, which is very, I think, important for editing, and I don't come up with new ideas to, oh, what if, this is going to happen? What if I do that? If none of that pops in my head, then I think it's ready. And I know I had beta readers read it, and I fix all the issues they point out. And I ran my manuscript through a trusted critique partners for anything else that they could find, because I know they're nitpicky and they will be honest with me. They're not going to try sugarcoat it just to make me feel better, because I have my parents for that. And then I know it's ready. That's like probably 3 points that I have to check.
Do you do beta readers first and then your critique partners, or critique partners first, then beta readers?
Yes. Yeah, because beta readers, in my opinion, they just read it as a reader, and they from beta readers, you should expect maybe few things that they can notice. Oh, you said brown eyes, and then you said green eyes, like some really oopsies that you made. But overall, they should say, like, how they enjoyed the book, or if the middle was a bit sagging, you can spend just a little bit time and tweak it to put more emotions or remove some scenes. And I think that's what beta readers should be. They should write you a review, if they would write a review for the book. Anything else is alpha readers, like people who read it before you, go over with like a fine tooth comb or brush, whatever it's called, and really polish it. So it's like critique partners, then alpha readers, then beta readers. At least
And
that's
how
how I
many
put them.
how many beta readers do you typically have?
For my second book, I probably had 6 beta readers, because I was hopping around with critique partners. I didn't have my very solid critique partners. And then for my third book, I might have like 4, but I already had my 2 very good critique partners. And then, yeah, that's it. I guess because I only wrote 3 books. And for my 4th book, well, I guess it will be published third book, I probably would do the same thing, just 2 free critique partners and maybe 2 beta readers, because I also have an agent. And I count her more of a very important beta reader, because she sees it after my critique partner saw it. Because I would not show her the crap that I write, because I think she would drop me.
So when you signed with your agent, then did you guys do a lot of edits before you went on sub, or was it
Oh,
ready to go?
oh no, no, no. So before Helen signed with me, when we had our call, she said, I need to ask you if you will agree to change your third act before we like talk about anything else. And I said, sure, I'll do anything.
I'm ready.
Yes. And she said, okay, great. So she told me what she wanted to change. And I agree. I knew it was coming. I really knew it was coming. I just hoped it would not come. So
Right.
I agree. So once we signed, 2 weeks later, she sent me her 11 pages of notes. First page was a lots of love, the rest of it, her thoughts. And it was single line.
Whoa, 11 pages single spaced.
I think so, yeah. I need to find, I don't know if I have them anywhere here, but yeah. Anyway, it was a lot of suggestions and things,
Mhm.
and she's really good editorial author. So I had a big lip and I powed for probably 3 days talking to my critique partners. And then I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. So the third act was thrown away and totally was rewritten. And then we brought extra characters that before were just sort of just mentioned but never been on the pages. So we
Mhm.
introduced them and then gave more action to my main character instead of just being as this sidekick to Andrew, where she was just following and being pretty. She was really involved in this journey of finding treasure. So I had to think even more of the treasure hunt, where before it was Andrew knew everything and we just see reveals, where now I had to actually show a lot of process. There was some of it, but not enough.
Mhm.
So through Adriana's eyes, aka through now Rita's eyes, we can like all participate in this hunt and I guess sort of maybe put the puzzles together instead of
Mhm.
just Andrew giving us answers. Adriana and Andrew is my two main characters. Just in case you didn't know. And then the third act was totally different. And to have that third act, everything that Helen suggested to do had to like tie it in and build towards that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I had 2 months rewriting. And then she gave me a little bit more of her notes. And after her notes, on October 11th, we went on submission. And that's that.
How long were you on sub for?
Let's see, we went in October, first round. And then we went on round 2, the first week of January. And then on February 23rd, we got an offer from One More Chapter. So October, November, December, January, 5 months.
Oh, that's pretty good. Was
I,
it
I think so.
terrible to wait 5 months?
It was because, I went in there. One side of me said, don't expect anything. Other side of
Mhm.
me said, oh no, it's going to be over 1 month success. This right was right. This was high in something, thinking I gotta be over a week or month success. But it's still success. I count it. I don't
Mhm.
care.
Yeah.
5 months, and I have a wonderful imprint who in love with my book, and my editor is incredible, and I just finished her. She sent me. It's not 11 pages. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 pages. It's double space.
Oh, that's nice.
So she had her thoughts, but not a lot. So I was going over and fixing them. I just sent it to her last week.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. So when you tackle a big project like that, like the 11 single space pages from your agent, How do you go about that process? Like, do you outline? Are you an outliner at all? Or
I am.
how do you do it?
Uh, well, same as like what Jeannie sent me. I think I right away tackle the easy parts, like the things that easy to fix, that I know right away how to do it. And then I go back and then I attack something that will take me longer to rewrite, but not necessary. I have to sit there and think. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why I put the harder ones last. Like the third act that had to be totally rewritten and I had to come up with it too. That one was the last thing I've done. I dreaded the day when I have to sit down and plot out my third act because everything else was already there. I just had to enhance it and bring in some new characters.
Mm-hmm.
And um, the third act, I plotted out. I got stuck towards the end. I asked my son to help me because he likes to read and he likes to read murder and mysteries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's now 15. That time he was, I think, 14. It was a year ago. Kind of, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
year ago. Yeah. So he helped me to come up with this dramatic thing. I mean, his imagination was a little bit too much, but I was able to take some parts of it and say, you know what,
Yeah.
it's actually a lot of fun. And I use that. So huge credit to him for helping me with the third act. Because this is where a lot of things were happening. This is where my readers hopefully going to be sitting on the edge of their seats, biting their
Mm-hmm.
nails. I don't know if they will be doing that, but don't bite your nails. It's a bad habit.
Did your agent have suggestions for the third act, or she just knew it had to be different?
I think she threw in some suggestions, but I don't know if I used them or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, to be honest.
That's okay. There's been a lot. And is the book behind you? Is that the book then?
Yes, that's
Digging Dr. Jones?
yes, that's the one that going to be released in May 2nd of next year, and I ran and printed like covers so I can hang them everywhere, give it to my mom, and
Yeah.
it's like, this is mom, this is your Christmas present if you'll be watching this ever.
That's so
So
exciting.
yeah, and yeah, we just got the cover. Hopefully, whenever this video will be playing, it will be already revealed. So far, it have not been revealed, but
Oh, yeah.
hopefully, we're waiting.
I will put it out after it's revealed.
There's so much going on for the book reveal. I didn't know it. Like Jeannie said, they waiting on illustrators agent to work out when they can show on their, I guess, on Lenny's Instagram, when she will be ready, we will be ready, and it's all gonna happen like on one day. So it's like, oh, I
Oh,
thought that
wow.
you tell her, hey, can you release it on Wednesday? And we release it on Wednesday. Apparently, it's not. There's a lot of
It's-
logistic going on there. Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
That's great, though, to have like a team of people all so excited about your book.
Yep. Yep.
Did you always know you wanted to go the traditional publishing route?
Uh, I guess so. Just because it's gonna sound silly, but my biggest bucket list is to see my book in an airport bookstore.
It doesn't sound
Like,
silly.
it's like, well, some people say, become famous or like make a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money would be nice, but, or being like a bestseller. It's all great. But for me, when I see those books in the airport, it's just something magical. I don't know why. And I was like, I want to be there too one day. And somewhere I heard that basically it's almost impossible if you are indie, unless you became like huge indie author,
Mm-hmm.
to be in an airport bookstore. So wanting to be in an airport bookstore propelled me towards traditional publishing.
Yeah.
And that's it. No, I'm not saying that once I see my book, if I'm going to see my book in the airport bookstore are gonna quit traditional. But
It's done. I'm done.
yeah. Yeah.
Mine's Target. Every time I see those shelves in Target, I'm like, I really want to see my book there someday.
Yeah.
Like they look so shiny, it's lit so nice. Right
Yes.
across the way from the toys, so I'm already there with my daughter.
Very actually, it's very smart. At least two Target stores that I've been to near my house, it's mommy kids stuff and the books. It's like moms
Mm-hmm.
need books to escape
Mm-hmm.
reality.
Yes. Yep.
Very smart
Genius,
marketing.
Target.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get your inspiration to write your stories? You got your first novel inspiration from traveling in the castle, but where did you get your inspiration for digging Dr. Jones?
That one actually, funny enough, it was I was rewriting my first book because I'm not gonna give up on it. And I decided my person gonna be an author, and I had to make her to write something. She was telling a friend a book that she's writing, and I just wrote a pitch for Digging Dr. Jones. It just came up about that book, and one of the critique partners at that time, he said, that book actually sounds a lot of fun. You should write that book instead of this one. And when I read his note, I thought, oh, that's kind of a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the plot just happened in my book. And it was like the fastest book I ever written, I think. I think I written it in 3 months. Like drafted
Wow.
it, did several revisions. It just poured out of me. That was incredible. Actually feeling the first and I guess second book, that would be my third book, weren't that easy. This one was something that just, I don't know, the easiest book to write, and it's the first one to be released. So maybe I'm not saying that all the books, the ones that just pour out of you, the ones going to be published. It's not true,
Mm-hmm.
because my second book is also going to be published in 2026, and that one was not exactly easiest one to write. And yes, Helen told me to rewrite the third act again. Yes, she said throw it away and rewrite it.
Yeah, I often have to rewrite my third acts. Sometimes I have to rewrite the first ones too.
Yes, well, hey, my first book, I'll be rewriting it totally. Very little of it actually will survive, because my third book that Helen and I will be submitting, going back on the sub, it will have elements of that castle and passages, but everything
Oh,
else around it gonna be new.
yeah. I think that's awesome though that you're going back to it. You seem like a very like I'm not giving up person.
Um, to be honest, it's gonna be so rewritten that I'm not quite sure it's gonna be the same book. So maybe what I'm not bringing into that book, I can say for book number 7.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing is wasted. We're recycling.
Mm-hmm. Nothing is wasted. Um, stuck with your writing?
Yes, like for Digging Dr. Jones, the third act, I did not know what gonna happen there. I thought, this is it. I'm done. I should just break up with Helen and tell her I'm sorry I wasted your time. And it took me a week or two to finally see what's gonna happen in Act 3. And with my second book, The Hunter's Treasure, the third act, I liked how I ended it in my own book, but because Helen said it's not gonna work, I struggle with it because I really, really wanted to bring those elements into the rewrite, and I couldn't. And because I couldn't, it stole me. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. But I figured out, with conversations with my other writer friends, everybody, sort of throws ideas. Sometimes it will be a joke, but the joke will spark an idea. And that helped me to come up with, again, the third act for Hunter's Treasure. So yes, I definitely get stuck. And through conversations with other authors, creative people, I get through it. So always make sure you have your crowd, because it helps tremendously. Not only when you stuck, but when you're down, they're there to catch you and just cheer you up and tell you, to suck it up and keep going. Or they'll just say, they suck and you cool. And sometimes that's what you need to hear, and say, yeah, you're right. They suck and I'm the best. It's very important not to be alone in this industry, because we're always alone. I mean, this is my spot where you would probably find me writing, and I have to be by myself because I have to focus, and it's lonely. So it's important to have people like you and my other friends that we can chat and balance ideas of each other and lean for support.
It's so important. How did you find your voice in your writing? Was it always there? Do you think it's remained the same over the few books?
No, my first book, the 140,000 words one, I think I was trying to be a little bit lyrical, and it's not me. When I wrote my Hunter's Treasure, my voice changed. I was a little bit less describing things and tried to be less lyrical and pretty words and big words that most of the time I had to Google and find out what the hell they actually mean. And more humor started coming out. So when I started writing Digging Dr. Jones, I dropped to trying hard to impress people with the words, and I brought more humor, more sarcasm. There's still description there, but it's fast-paced, and I think I relaxed and just became me. And I think in general I'm a funny person, maybe not. And I just start writing how would I be talking to you or to anybody, and I'll be telling them a story. And usually when I tell a story, I try to put in some humor in it and watch it. We're going to be rewatching this podcast, and I'm not going to be funny at all. So.
You are funny.
So anyway, no, I found my voice after a second book, and I started writing the third book. And I think I'm going to stick with that voice because I like that voice the most.
So did it just come through more and more writing?
I guess so. Or maybe I also became a little bit more confident with my writing. So I didn't have to focus so much on, I still focus on this sentence structure, but before I think I was thinking of how would I try to impress the reader with my words, whereas now the story comes first, however it comes out of me, and then I clean up the structure and grammar and echo words and filter words, but I'm not trying too hard to wow the reader saying, oh, look at this, Olivia, she knows the big words.
Right. I can see that in some of my earlier works, and even now sometimes I'm like, is that for the story? Is that serving my character? I'm not sure. What are you working on now?
Let's see. Well, I submitted my edits to my editor, so I'm waiting for her to send me back her second letter of edits. I'm really hoping she's gonna say, yeah, this is all great. I doubt she's gonna say that. And I will be working on my third book, rewriting my first book. So third book, the castle one. I will be working on that. I already was about to start drafting it because I did all my plotting. I have my characters figured out. I figured out the mystery. That's going to be the subplot in that book. And pretty much the day when I said I'm going to sit down and start drafting, I got the email from my editor with her editorial letter. So that was pushed back. So I guess in December I'm going to start drafting it because next week is a Thanksgiving break. and we going on vacation with the family, and there will be no drafting.
Too busy.
Yeah, and it's a family time, so you kind of want to spend time with your kids and husband,
Right.
because
Well, thank you so much for sharing your writing process and your journey with
you're
us.
welcome.
Is there anything else you want to share?
I can talk, or at least show some of my favorite books on craft
Oh,
that
yeah.
that I think the best friends for writers. And I know
Yes,
some of them going to
please.
be for romance, but so this one is the self-editing fiction for fictional writers by Rennie Brownie and David King. This is fantastic for editing. This one is amazing. I'm not gonna try to say their last names. I'm just gonna show them. And this one is, I have it like as a book, and I also have it as a Kindle because it's easier to do the search for words. This one is like a Bible
Oh,
for
yeah.
writers.
Save the Cats writes a novel. Love it.
Yes. And
All
I have
capped up.
a Scrivener. That's where I draft my stuff, and I have a template for it. So I use that. And gosh, this one, all of
The
their
Point of
series,
View. It's by
all of their
Marcy Kennedy. I need to
Yes.
get that one. I don't know that one.
she has a lot of different books. Some of them repeat from this one, go with this one, but she's to the point, and that's why they're quite thin, because she just, this is example, this is what's wrong, this is what's right, and it's great. This is for echo words.
Oh, yeah. 1,000 strong verbs, 1,000 character reactions. Those are
This
great ones.
this one is great too. This is
Conflict and Suspense. Who's that one by?
oh, sorry. It's by, who is it? James Scott Bell.
James Scott Bell. I'll have to look that one up too. I don't know that one.
I just heard he has another very good book, and I don't remember what it's about, but I heard his name, and somebody was saying really quickly on the podcast there, his book. Maybe it's in dialogue, maybe not.
Oh, yeah.
Because dialogue is very important in the books. This one, I might take on my vacation and read this one. Because I heard,
Story by Robert McKee.
yes, I heard fantastic stuff about it. He writes like a screenwrite, I think. So he's a screenwriter. But they say it's like a very good book to read when you start the plot or before you start writing your book. So that's probably going to be my vacation read. I'm not going to read all of it, because look at that. Good grief. Who can read that fast? But I'll start reading that. So those my favorite books that I read and use every time I edit.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a favorite fiction book that you turn to for inspiration, or one that really sparked you of like, that makes me want to write a book?
No, because I'm looking at a lot of books. I don't know. I like all the books that I read, and I like romance, rom-coms. I like funny romance. I don't like sad romance, because there are some of those, like Colin Hoover. No, too sad.
Yeah,
I read one of her books and said, that's enough for me. I like funny. Life is already hard. Let's do something funny.
True.
And I like this is going to be, I like psychological thrillers.
Oh, yeah. I'm also a big fan.
So if I go back and forward between those genres, when I get too much romance, I switch to suspense or to the thriller. And then when I get too tired of being scared, or I can find repetition in them, I switch back to the romance.
That's exactly what I do. I've read like 5 romances. It's time for a thriller.
Yes, but I don't like thrillers with a romance, because I don't know why. I don't want any romance. I just want like something ugly and scary, and not scary. I don't like horror, but something that like make me think and guess and then be surprised.
Do you think you'll ever write a thriller?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'm smart enough to write a
I don't think
thriller.
that's true.
I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe in
Yeah.
20 years, when I exhausted all romance meet cutes possible,
Not
then
possible.
I was like, okay, now I'm gonna be start killing people.
Yeah. That's one of the best things about romance, I think, is that there are 10 billion ways that a meet cute could happen. You're just never going to run out.
Yep, I think
Yep.
so. I'll just go to another castle for
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, I think I took
No?
enough of your time.
Oh, no. I love talking to you, and I'm just so thrilled about your book coming out next year. I can't
But
wait
thank
to
you.
hold it in my hands and buy it at an
Me
airport.
too. Let me know which airport it will be. I'll
I'm gonna
fly to
scour
that airport.
every airport and be like, click, 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 click. You're gonna get a lot of messages.
Oh, thank you. That would really make my day. Yeah,
Yeah.
my son said, "Why don't you just go ask the bookstore to sell your book?" I was like, "I wish it was that simple, just to ask them, sell my book in the Atlanta airport, please." Yes, but thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you all so much for being here. Now go write.